If everybody can see my screen and everybody can hear me. So I will seek to read the entire chapter of Acts chapter 12 this morning. Praise the name of the Lord. Now, about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. Peter, therefore, was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto God for him. And when Herod would have brought him forth, the same night Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and the keepers before the door kept the prison. And behold, the angel of the Lord came upon him, and a light shone or shined in the prison. And he smote Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, Arise up quickly. And his chains fell off from his hands. And the angel said unto him, Gird thyself, and bind on thy sandals. And so he did. And he said unto him, Cast thy garments about thee, and follow me. And he went out and followed him, and wist not that it was true, which was done by the angel, but thought he saw a vision. When they were past the first and the second ward, they came unto the iron gate that leadeth unto the city, which opened to them of its own accord, on its own accord. And they went out and passed on through one street, and forthwith the angel departed from him. And when Peter was come to himself, he said, Now I know of his surety that the Lord hath sent his angel and had delivered me out of the hand of Herod, and from all the expectations of the people of the Jews. And when he had considered the thing, he came to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose surname was Mark, where many were gathered praying. And as Peter knocked at the door of the gate, a damsel came to hearken, named Rhoda. And when she knew Peter's voice, she opened not the gate for gladness, but ran in and told how Peter stood before the gate. And they said unto her, Thou art mad, thou art mad. But she constantly affirmed that it was even so. Then said they, It is his angel. But Peter continued knocking, and when they had opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. But he, beckoning unto them with a hand to hold their peace, declared unto them how the Lord had brought him out of the prison. And he said, Go show these things unto James and to the brethren. And he departed and went into another place. Now, as soon as it was day, there was no small stir among the soldiers what was become of Peter. And when Herod had sought for him and found him not, he examined the keepers and commanded that they should be put to death. And he went down from Judea to Caesarea and there abode. And Herod was highly displeased with them of Tyre and Sidon. But they came with one accord to him, and having made Blastus the king's chamberlain, their friend, desired peace, because their country was nourished by the king's country. And upon a set day, Herod, arrayed in royal apparel, sat upon his throne, and made an oration unto them. And the people gave a shout, saying, It is the voice of a God, and not of a man. And immediately the angel of the Lord smote him, because he gave not God the glory, and he was eaten of worms, and gave up the ghost. But the word of God grew and multiplied. And Barnabas and Saul returned from Jerusalem when they had fulfilled their ministry, and took with them John, whose surname was Mark. Praise the name of the Lord. Let us pray. Father, there is none like you. Absolutely none like you. We pause this morning, oh God, to recognize your supremacy, to recognize that you are God. Lord God, we place our lives into your hands. Lord, we thank you for your word today. We ask that you would bless it to our hearts, Lord. Father, Lord, as I prepare to share this word to your children, I surrender everything to you. Let it not be anything about me. I decrease this morning so that the name of God be glorified. Jesus, you increase today. Let your spirit be multiplied amongst us. Touch us in our homes, wherever we are at this time. Loving Father, let there be a strong visitation of the Spirit of God. Lord, to illuminate our minds. Lord, that your word will be glorified in our spirits. That we, loving Father, would receive you, receive your word today in Jesus' most powerful name. Lord, this is your service. We are your children. We commit every single word that will be spoken into your hands today. Let it be only the voice of God speaking and not man. I decrease today so that you increase. In Jesus' name, amen. Praise God. Praise the name of the Lord. I am so blessed this morning. I am so blessed. Just hearing the ministry of the word of God, just being able to pour ourselves out to God, just being able to worship the one true living God and to exalt his name. We give everything over to him this morning. Living amidst crisis. It is absolutely no secret that we are living in a time of disproportionate crisis as never before. There is a global pandemic. I see young people falling, just dropping to the ground, just dying, just giving up the ghost. I see pressure. People are undergoing pressure, and they cannot even moan the pressures that they undergo at this time. Is heart-wrenching. Not to mention those who have to make the dreaded choice of either taking the vaccine or becoming unemployed, knowing that they have families to take care of. My God, these are difficult times. But the church, I propose to us, is the last bastion of hope for this world. It is not the vaccine. It is not the mask. It is not even your job. It is not your business. It is nothing but God. That is the only hope I propose to us this morning that we have. Well, these are no simple times. When I reflect upon where we are as a church as a church, we would appreciate that this is not too different to what it was in the day of Paul and Silas and James and Stephen. Not too different. It only comes in a more subtle manner, in a more deceptive, conniving way. But it is the same problem that existed. It's the same problem that we face today. Do you think they like the church? They don't like the church. They don't like us. But it matters not, because we must firstly appreciate that we are not in a popularity contest. We are not in a popularity contest. God is still on the throne. So the church endured persecution. It's coming home to us. It's right here. It's right here. I saw a pastor posted on Facebook this morning that they allow the buses to run, they allow businesses to open, they allow this, and they forgot the church to be opened. Worry not, worry not, worry not. The Bible declared that constant prayer was offered to God on behalf of Peter. Peter was locked away in prison for preaching the gospel. Peter was in the hands of the law. Was in the hands of the law for preaching. He was arrested for preaching the gospel. By this time, we must recall that Stephen was already slaughtered, was already stoned to death. We must recall that James had just been killed with a sword. The church at that point in time was being constantly harassed. And here is Peter declaring his faith. Here is Peter in the midst of a crisis, speaking for the gospel, preaching the gospel. Peter, I submit to us, it would have been easier for Peter to walk away and go back to his old fisherman's life. Just be an ordinary man. Peter, having an encounter with God, understood that it costed something. Yeah. The Bible said it pleased the Jews to see the slaying of James. They celebrated. You think they like us? Why is it that they would celebrate? Why is it they would be so happy? And why is it that they are prosecuting the church? The word of God. The word of God is like a sword, powerful, cutting asunder. But I submit to us this morning, submit to us, that demons tremble at the mention of the name of Jesus. Diseases, people are healed from their diseases. Just imagine what was happening at that day. People were under tremendous pressure. Many were possessed. When these apostles preached the word, people were healed in great numbers, multitudes. Blind eyes were opened. The crippled, they walked. The dumb spoke. Glory be to God. So why? People were held in bondage for years, were set free. Set free. Why? The world is no friend to the church. No friend to the church. The believers, they were scattered across Phoenix, Cyprus, and Antioch. They were scattered. Why were they scattered? Because of the continual persecution of the church. But they continued to preach the gospel while under tremendous pressure. Peter was cornered in prison. 2 chains between 2 soldiers, shackled in prison. No hope of escape. The Bible says by 4 quintillion of soldiers, that is 16 soldiers guarding 1 man. No chance of escape. Add to that, there was a fortified iron gate of the prison. He was locked away in a cell. He was in chains. There were the guards and there were the iron gate. Think about it. No chance of escape. So having seen the fate of other preachers, one would presume that the death of Peter was a fait accompli. There was no chance that he was going to be coming back. One would presume that. One would presume that Peter cannot escape. He's cornered. One would presume that your boss hates you so much the death to ever walk the street again. Sometimes we sit here, we don't even know sometimes. You may appear well in body, well, and cancer can be eating us up on the inside until we get the dreaded news. That is why we play not with the enemy. Every single chance you get, rebuke the sicknesses, rebuke the works of the enemy. Cornered. Many of life's situations, we find ourselves cornered by the enemy. We find ourselves with nowhere to turn. Nowhere to turn. How do I get out of this? How do I get out? Only a miracle. A miracle is something that we cannot do for ourselves. Only God can do it. And I submit to us that if at all we can do it, God ain't going to come and do it for us. If at all we have the ability to do something, God ain't going to touch that. God is a miracle worker. He is specialized in doing that which is impossible. That which is impossible. That which is impossible. I've seen it. As a matter of fact, I sit here this morning at a company called Excellent Farms. I'm saying this only for the church to understand something. Pastor King would know. The church would know. I lost that business. At this time last year, I had absolutely no authority to set foot in this land, on this property. Lost every single thing. Had absolutely no way of getting back. No way. But God. I walked this land. I prayed. The final time of prayer, a young man accompanied me on my final prayer on this property before I left. I said, God, I know it is not your will that this property be handed over. God, I know that this dream came from you. There is absolutely no doubt. Having cradled this dream for 9 years, having done that, there was absolutely no way that I would believe that God would take it away from his son and give it to the ungodly. No way I would have believed that. I walked this, I circled these buildings, I prayed. The security who was on site, I said to him, don't think we are crazy. We have not lost our minds. But I still believe in prayer. Shocked at his answer. His answer to me was, I understand. I understand. We are praying for you. Shocked at his answer. This morning, I planned and prepared this message right here in the office of Excellent Farms Limited. You want to tell me God is not a miracle worker? God specializes at the impossible, in the impossible. A certain lawyer said at a particular, the 99th hour, the last day of the transaction to take back this company, he said it is impossible that this can happen in the time allotted. It is impossible. The last day, he said this cannot work. It's impossible. It has to go through the system. It's possible. God is a miracle worker. This is only a tip of the iceberg, because my life from a boy, I remember many years ago in the land, in the garden, crying out to God, oh God, as a little boy, tying my sheep, help me to pass my common entrance. You want to tell me God didn't answer? The record is there to prove. As I go through form by form by form, oh God, help me to pass my exams. The record is there. As I sought higher education, oh God, help me to pass those difficult exams. My God, I saw myself on the streets of Guyana one day. My wife is my witness. God spoke to me. He said to me, this is what is going to happen. I said, my God, if you don't come true for me, if you don't promise, we are not going. I'm not going. I was supposed to go. I said, I'm not going. When I saw what was going to happen, my wife be my witness. Exactly the way that it was shown to me. And God said to me, you go, my son. I am going to protect you. Closest I've ever come to death. When this happened, I just walked straight to her room, bowed my knees, and offered praise unto God for giving me just one more chance. He is a miracle worker. God is a miracle worker. God is a miracle worker. When you are locked away, when you're cornered, that is when you know that Jesus Christ is who he said he is. It's not about dressing up and going to church. It's not about singing two songs. It's not about what you wear. Hallelujah. It's not about what you put under your bed. It's not what you rub with. It is the word of God. The Bible said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Oh, hallelujah. Blessed be the name of Jesus. Blessed be the name of Jesus. Paul, locked away in prison. Are you hearing me clearly? Just put a thumbs up, please, quickly. I see a message come up. Okay, wonderful. Paul locked away in prison. Locked away. Paul was considered red meat. Herod's antenna was up. Properly cornered. 4 quadrillion of soldiers surrounding him, locked away in maximum security prison, just waiting that Easter may end. The church began to pray. The church began to pray. It might look as idle words. It might look as if you're just speaking in the atmosphere, but I want to say to us this morning, there is a God who hears your cries, who understands your complaints, who sees your oppression. Hallelujah. Who heals your diseases. Paul, locked away in prison. Annie Johnson Flint, one of the greatest songwriters and poets, understood this lady. She was an orphan. Arthritis took over her body. She was crippled. There were so many bars on her skin before her passing, you could have hardly recognize her. Hear what she writes. He giveth more grace when the burdens grow greater. He sends more strength when the labors increase. To add enough affliction, he added his mercy. To multiply trials, he multiplied his peace. When we have exhausted our store of endurance, when our strengths have failed, as the days have gone, when we have reached the end of our hoarded resources, our Father's forgiving has only begun. His love has no limits. His grace has no measure. His power has no boundaries known unto man. For out of his infinite riches in Jesus, he give it and give it and give it again. Oh, praise the name of the Lord. This is a place to celebrate. He give it and give it and give it again. Oh God. Affliction, he pours mercy into us. Trials, he gives you the peace to go through it. Your endurance have waited. Your strengths have failed you. Your resources have dried up. Remember, Jesus is given has only begun. No limits to his love. No grace. His grace has absolutely no measure. His power has no boundaries, no limits. That is known unto man. And out of his infinite riches in Jesus, keeps pouring into us. What is our problem this morning? What is our deficit this morning? What is our lack? What are the troubles that you face? Is it COVID? The answer to COVID is look up. Look up. These things must come to pass. But Jesus is still a mighty healer. I want to say to the church this morning, there was something worse than COVID called leprosy. Jesus reached out and touched man with leprosy, commanded him to be made whole. Touch him. There are many other diseases worse than COVID. You're forced to take a vaccine. Oh, what a decision. What a decision that is placed before you. Forced to take it. It don't solve your problem. You can still get sick. You can still spread it. You can still die. As a matter of fact, there are reports after people would have had the disease, would have taken the vaccine, that in a few days, some of them just dropped, not even able to say, I'm not feeling well. To God be praised this morning. To God be praised. Confused. The world is confused. We've turned our backs on God. There's a call to repentance. Our leaders need to repent, need to turn to God. That's the problem. It's a sin problem. Yes. 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 COVID is here. We're not saying take or not take the vaccine. This is your personal choice. The church has a responsibility to preach the gospel. And as far as I know, there is nothing here that speaks to COVID. Nothing. What I know that God is a mighty healer. That when you catch that COVID, you call upon the name of the Lord and you shall be healed. That's the word of the Lord this morning. Look at this. For freedom. You got to claim your freedom. You got to claim it this morning. It belongs to you. The price has already been paid. It's already been paid. It is yours. Claim it. The prayer of the saints touches the heart of God. That is why Peter was set free, because the cries of the saints reach up, touch the heart of Jehovah. God released his angels to fight his battles. Yes. God can do the same for you. He's the same yesterday. He's the same today. He's the same forever. His words cannot and does not change. Let God fight your battles. Don't try to get into the boxing ring. You know you already have a bad finger. By the time you try the first punch, you're crying. Yes, let the Lord fight the battles for you. One songwriter understood this. He bowed his knees. He cried out. He said, this is how I fight my battles. Yes. You think I'll lose my mind? No. This is how I fight my battles. You may think I am surrounded. But guess what? I'm surrounded by God. What you see when you look is trouble all around. He cannot escape. He's fully cornered. But Peter is saying, you think I'm surrounded? I'm surrounded by the angels of the Lord. There is no stopping what God can do. He is unstoppable. He is in absolute control. David went through all the battles. He understood where he was. He said, yeah. He made a boast. Yeah. Even though I walk through the valleys of the shadows of death, I refuse to be intimidated. I refuse to be afraid. For the Lord Jehovah, he is with me. The word of God comforts me. I've already made up my mind. I will dwell in the presence of God all the days of my life. David, all confidence in God. Yeah. Mommy, you may not be shouting. You're not a bacchanalist, mommy. But hear this. Courage doesn't always be a big roar. You don't have to make bacchanal and noise. Sometimes courage is that quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I'm going to try again tomorrow. Tomorrow, when the sun rises, I'm going at it again. It's quiet. Why? You know the peace of God. You've experienced the peace of God. You know what is going on there. You know that God is. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were asked to bow before the golden image, cornered, in trouble as it were, with King Nebuchadnezzar. Hear what he writes to them. He said, but if you do not worship, you are going to be cast right now, this very hour, into the midst of this burning fiery furnace. And who is that God of yours who can deliver you out of my hands? He think he is all that, you see? Think he's all that? Tell him that there is a King of kings. Tell him that there is a Lord of lords, that every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Nebuchadnezzar, you're going to bow. You must admit that Jesus is Lord. Hear the Christian boys. Hear the Hebrew boys. Hear the church's response. Said to the king, O king, we do not need to give you an answer in this matter. Some of us speak too much. I said some of us beat tongue too much. What are we speaking about? What are we trying to be tongue about? That can't give you the victory. Your victory is on your knees. Victory is through the blood of Jesus Christ, that price which has already been paid. He said, if it be so, our God whom we serve, he is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he shall deliver us out of your hand, O King. What a bold statement to make. You know who you serve, you know. He is able. He shall deliver us. Glory to God this morning. We must know for a certainty whom we serve. But even if he's not doubting, you know, these guys are not doubting, you know. He said, if my God decides that he's not going, you just want to show him something. Let it be known unto you, O King, we will not serve your gods. Even if God was not going to deliver, we will not serve your gods. We will not worship your golden image. We're not going to do it. You must know who you are. You must know what you stand for. I am not saying to you that you ought to be foolish. Got to be wise. Got to be wise. You must know what you stand for. You must know who God is and what he's saying to us. Hear the voice of God. And hearing the voice of God sometimes call for us to separate ourselves. You know, Pastor King did not at all tell me what this subject was going to be for today. Never did. And to be honest with you, I had already prepared a substantial part of another message. I prayed. I said, God, what is it that you want your church to hear this morning? This morning. You see, because your message could be appropriate for next week or the week after or some other time. But what is it you want your church to hear on this, the 10th day of October, 2021? I don't know who has signed on today. I didn't look to see that. I don't know who was going to be here. But when I logged on this morning, I knew that something special was happening. Praises be unto God Almighty. Jeremiah chapter 32, verse 27. The Lord said unto Jeremiah, behold, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. He asked him the question, is anything too hard for me? Let me say something to us. A miracle is not something that follows a logical pattern. You cannot work out, if you do this, then you do that, then the result of the miracle is going to be this. It does not follow a logical explanation, because God, to begin with, does not owe us an explanation. He does not owe us an explanation. It does not have to be logic. As a matter of fact, tell me what is logic about this, or logical about this. When he stood in the deathless past and he called forth the heaven and the earth, he called forth trees. When he took dirt from the ground and blow into it and expect lungs and kidneys and digestive system and joints and bones and muscles and everything and brain, and be able to reason and discuss and laugh and enjoy and connect. What is logical about that? There's absolutely no logic in that. Does not owe us an explanation. He said to Jeremiah, I am the Lord. I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. There is no exception. Whether you atheists, agnostics, or whatever, this you are. It does not really matter. He is the God of all flesh. Every knee shall bow. Every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, the glory of God the Father. So if they slay me for preaching the gospel, he is still Lord. When they fire you because you refuse to take a vaccine, he is still Lord. And if you take that vaccine and you say, Lord God Almighty, I am taking this because I am confused. So much information. I don't know what to believe. So I'm taking this, Lord. You watch over your humble servants. He is still Lord of all flesh. He's going to protect you. Put your life in his hands. Regardless of your situation. We can reason these things out. A miracle is something you cannot reason. A miracle is something you don't deserve. It's only by his mercy. Regardless of your situation, God is able to fix it. Nothing impossible. Our finite minds is just not able to comprehend the grandeur of God. Too small can reason God. The Bible says heaven is his throne. The earth is his footstool. The enemy will always try to intimidate and roar, as if to say he is in control. But we must understand God is the only one that is in control. Allow him to control your life. Breaking news. Breaking news. The enemy is not in business. He's already been defeated. He's already been defeated. You see, from the moment that Christ was risen from the grave, Satan backed off. He had no hold on your life. See, they're still searching for the body and the bones, the remains. But let them search, because the Bible declares that he rose bodily. He rose bodily. You can search every corner of the world. You will never find the remains of Jesus. And he has touched so many lives. They could never erase the fact that he walked the face of this earth. What is there to dispute? He rose. God is in control. God is unchangeable. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. God is unshakable. You cannot shake him. Yes, you cannot move him. God is unstoppable. That's the kind of papa you have. That is the kind of papa you have. A God who is not in need of anything. The songwriter said that we can give. We don't have to feed him. We don't have to wear him. We don't have to go searching for him. He's omnipresent. Our God is a spirit, and they that worship must worship in spirit and in truth. Can contend to his power. You're the only God whose name and praise will never end. You're the only God who is worthy of every praise that we can give. Yes, man, that's just the way it is. Songwriter understood it. He said, that's just the way it is. To God be all the glory this morning. God be all the praise. Amazing grace. How sweet that sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost. Now I am found. I was blind, but thank God I now see. Amazing grace. God. Peter locked away in a prison cell. God came to his rescue by way of an angel. God performed one of the most spectacular and amazing miracles for Peter. A man who trusted God and was willing to be crucified upside down after having an encounter with Christ. Most spectacular miracle. Imagine that. Pinned together, chained together, the two guards. The shackles were loose. Somebody's praying. Somebody is praying. Is there somebody in intensive care at the hospital this morning? Is there somebody laying home on the bed, calling the hospital? No answer to the ambulance. But God the healer. Is there somebody with a troubled son, a troubled daughter? Is there somebody who has a possessed loved one, vexed with the devil? Is there someone who is blind, lost their sight? Is there someone with kidney troubles, hypertension, cancer, dying? Is there someone this morning? Is there someone? Oh, praise be unto God. Yes, Lord, we depend on you for a spectacular and amazing miracle, like what you did for Peter. We trust in God this morning. We must survive, we must live. Amidst the crisis, we gotta live. Amidst the difficulties we had to go through, looks impossible, yes. In God I trust this morning. Peter walking away from prison as a free man. Peter couldn't believe. Peter couldn't believe what he was experiencing. He actually thought that he was dreaming until the angel of God departed from his presence and he was left alone. Poof. Peter said, well, you know, I'm free. This is not a dream. My God, to God be praised this morning, you know. To God be praised. He actually thought he was dreaming. Believers were praying. My God, some of us, we can't even pray because of the pain, because of the feeling of grief. You wake up one morning feeling so depressed, so hurt. All you could say, Lord, thank you, Jesus. You can't find the words to express yourself. Somebody is praying for you. Somebody is lifting you up. Oh. Break out in unknown tongues. Release a prayer into the atmosphere. Release a song into the atmosphere. Peter went home where they were praying. to the home of Mary, where they were gathered praying. Young lady by the name of Rhoda, having knocked on the door. Rhoda, open. It's me, Peter. Recognizing it was Peter's voice. So happy. Forget about opening door. Run back to the saints. All you, Peter. Can you imagine? Peter, we just praying for him. All you, Peter. The believers, deep in prayer, looked at Rhoda, said, girl, you're mad. Yes. You know why? Because it is not logical. You cannot explain how Peter could be released. Girl, you're mad. You're dreaming? What's wrong with you? The rapid release of Peter. They all were stunned by the amazing hand of God. Yes. Let the devil be stunned. Yes. Let the world be stunned. Yes. Even you to whom the miracle is given, even you in shock. God, me? God, you heard me? Me? I don't deserve this. You sure? God, I don't deserve this. It's me. My God. God heard my prayer. He responded to my supplications. You mean when we lifted this thing in prayer meeting, God indeed heard? God indeed heard. God heard. Me? Sometimes you got to pinch yourself. I want to say to us, that faith, keep the faith. Keep the faith this morning. Don't give in. Don't give up. Weeping may endure for a night. Joy comes in the morning. God is still a mountain mover. Still a problem solver. Still a healer. Still a friend that's taken closer than a brother. Claim your victory this morning. Claim your victory. Claim your victory. Claim your victory. Are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling discouraged this morning? Here is your answer. That is the only how we'll be able to walk out and say, God, He is a miracle working God. If you never had troubles, never had failures, never had obstacles, if you never faced the impossible, then you don't have a report of miracles. Come on, face it this morning. Look at your troubles. Look at it. Stare it in His face this morning. The God that you serve is mightier than your tribulations. Is mightier than your failures. Is mightier than your setbacks. God is able to do this. He's able to do it. Trust in God. Place everything into His hands this morning. Everything. Place everything into His hands. Yes. Looking at the screen, you see a soldier properly armed, ready for the battle, understanding that the bullets that he has is not enough. Understanding that the other troops around him can't do it. Yes. The weapons of my warfare It is not carnal, but it is mighty through God to the pulling down strongholds. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Yes, yes, yes. Is there anything too hard? It's nothing. Nothing is impossible unto God. Nothing. He is God. Don't try to fight him. Don't try to solve the problems. Place everything into his hands. Don't try to beat your chest. Don't try to show off, as it were. Humble yourself in the presence of God. Praises be unto Jehovah God this morning. Praise God. I bless you today. Church, I bless you. I bless you. God is good. God is good. I believe God wanted to speak to us. I believe I needed to hear this morning. I believe I needed to hear this. I believe you needed to hear this morning. God is still on the throne. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated by what is around you. Pray. Seek the face of God. Hear the voice of God. Pray and go through. Pray and go through. Pray and go through. You must live in the midst of this crisis. Don't go down so. If you catch COVID, tell yourself you're not going to die. If you take the vaccine, tell yourself you're not going to die. And pray before you do it. Bless it. The Bible says that you may eat or drink deadly substances, and it shall not harm you. I am not telling you, if you know something is deadly, that you deliberately go into it. Let the wisdom of God prevail. Pray, pray, pray. What an opportunity it was to speak to you this morning. I feel as if I'm free because God has spoken today.
Thus saith the Lord, I don't think you understand it all. Our relationship is my priority, and no matter what these people think or say, I'm jealous for you. I listen to the songs you sing, and I'm loving all the melodies you write for me. But I hope that you can comprehend that it's never been about what you can do for me.